Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. It's a podcast where we introduce a sweet child to Amazon's world of the Wheel of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes, and I would like to introduce you to the sweet child that's in question. That's James McCullum. Hello, James. I see you.
I see you I hear you as well, sir.
Oh, nice catch there, you scamp.
I am a scamp, and you didn't tell. I was like looking at the something we'll be talking about today, finding information, and then all of a sudden you start saying, "Welcome to the Wheel of Time podcast, sweet child of time." I'm like, oh, I need to start recording on my end as well then. So fingers crossed this first segment goes without any hitches because you'll just have to re-record the intro and slice that in.
Well, yeah, I guess so, because you know that I'm prone to errors in this little crappy Chromebook that I'm recording on. For the last time.
Yeah.
That's right. Ordered this morning a nice new laptop from Amazon. Nice refurbished, cheap, but strong and powerful laptop that won't crap out on us. And maybe we can... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, you said refurbished. I was going to rhyme something with warder, but I do not remember what it is.
Yeah, I felt really bad that I couldn't handle a third guest. So when Jeff was on, our show was a little bit of a shit show, I would say, but we came through very well.
Yeah,
I've invited other people on, so fingers crossed that this new laptop can handle a third guest.
Sure. Fingers crossed, because I want some people in. My friend Joe from Hit It and Crit It, it's back now, guys, baby. Yes. He was asking about it yesterday because we batch recorded some more episodes, so he wants to come on.
The past two times that we've gotten on the call here, I've been half expecting you to have a Joe sitting next to you, but it hasn't happened yet.
Hold on. I think. Hold on. Nicole, I love you. I think you said bye. Have a good day. Sorry.
Oh, hang on. Hey, Heather, I love you too, by the way. Yes, she's here and she knows I love her too. How do you think about that?
I think Nicole just left to go to work and I think screamed bye. So I wanted to reciprocate because she's probably like, he doesn't even hear me from way back there, but I hear you and I don't see you, Nicole.
Yeah, Heather was in the restroom when I yelled I love her, and she just came in here and was like, what, you love me? Yeah, I did say I love you. Hi, Heather.
Hello.
Much love.
So we got to talk about something Wheel of Time related that you sent me.
Yes, that's right. I got wind of a Wheel of Time PC first-person shooter, I think is what it is.
Yeah.
And it looked, I sent it to you just thinking this is a good introduction to, what happened to the world of Wheel of Time and where we're at right now and why everybody's looking for the dragon. It was a great 3-minute intro. That's the reason I sent it to you. And then you got a little excited about it.
Yeah, because it came out in 99. It's on the Unreal Engine, the first one, because it's 99, you stupid asses. Why isn't it 5? Because 5 didn't come out till recently. It's years. Learn them. So I love this aesthetic, especially for PC games at the time, even though at that moment in life, I couldn't play those games. And I don't think until recently I could not play those because I never had a powerful enough computer to enact these 3D worlds.
Right.
So I'm looking at this because I saw the intro and you made it seem to be like it was a new game. And I was like, this doesn't look like a new game at all. And
am I wrong? It's not new because it came across my Google news feed as a new. Somebody just recently reviewed it. Is what happened.
Okay, it might be because they put it on GOG, Good Old Games, that you can purchase it and it runs on Windows 10 and all of that, which currently is only $9. So we will absolutely be streaming this over on Mostly Speakin' Sentai, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook pages. I don't know when, but we will, and Steve will post on our Instagram when that goes live.
That is great. So the game was made in 99. So the series hadn't. I'm trying to think where the books were at that point, and they were pretty far back there. Geez, so that's fantastic that this game was that early, and if it does seem strange, it's a first-person shooter as opposed to a role-playing game. That seems like the most obvious thing for a Wheel of Time game is to be a role-playing game. We'll take what we can get, though.
At this time, The Path of Daggers had just come out, and A Winter's Heart was about to come out. Okay,
yeah, so there's a lot of really important stuff that hasn't happened yet, but of course, we're just a little past where we are now in the TV show. I don't know. Can I bring it back to the TV show of Wheel of Time real quick, James?
Yeah, let's do it up, baby.
We're right here at the top of the show, and we have already seen 4 episodes, and we're getting ready to watch 4 more episodes. We're exactly at the halfway point. So I wanted to take this opportunity to reintroduce ourselves and realign ourselves and what we know about Wheel of Time. And I'll go first, which I started reading Wheel of Time not that long ago, really. Maybe somewhere between 6 and 8 years ago was when I started getting into it. For lack of a George R.R. Martin book. I was waiting for The Winds of Winter to come out and finding other stuff to read. So Wheel of Time. And then I fell in love with it more than anything else I've ever read. And I've read the series twice. I'm going through it the 3rd time now. Some books I've read 4 or 5 times out of series, but I've gone in chronological order. This is my 3rd run through. This will be our book corner right at the beginning of the show because I'm talking about the books. I'm currently on book 12, the first Brandon Sanderson written book. And I just right away going into this book, I just love his writing style. I love Robert Jordan's world of Wheel of Time. And of course I love his writing, but I don't know. There's something to be said about Brandon Sanderson's style. It really pulls you in, and I was thinking to myself as I was reading it, I could easily hand this book to James, book 12 of the series, and you would be able to catch right up on what's been going on. You would be lost to a lot of detail, but he picks up really well at that book and pulls you right back in. And that's something that Robert Jordan didn't do a whole lot of, was do a lot of back retrospecting. You had to do that for yourself. He would just bring up these small details and you had to fill in all the blanks yourself. So I talked a lot there because I'm a huge Wheel of Time fan. So when this show came out, I jumped on board and, I was on board immediately. That's me. I talk too much. James, how about you with your Wheel of Time life history?
Well, when you were starting Wheel of Time, I was just entering high school.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
No, the math doesn't add up, Steven.
Wait a second. What are you talking about?
Because you said 6 to 8 years ago, I was making a joke that I'm very young.
I don't pick up jokes. I'm on the spectrum. I can't pick up these cues.
Because, I'm 30, guys. I'm not. That would make me 24 at most if it was 8 years ago.
You could pass for 24, absolutely.
No, I couldn't. Not anymore. Once I turned 29, I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, yes, I am a man now. And when I pulled down my pants, I'm like, I'm still a little boy.
A wee little lad.
No, I say wowzers. When I first got contacts, I don't wear them anymore. I got contacts because Nicole, in retrospect, when I talked to her, she said, oh, I don't like glasses. And I was assuming she doesn't like people who, like, she finds glasses not preferred. Sure. But she then explained to me years later, no, she doesn't like wearing glasses herself. So I got contacts just to please a woman. And when I wore them, everything started looking larger than they are with glasses, because like the lenses are a little further out and make things look a little bit smaller. So when I put contacts in and looked at my the first time I had an erection with contacts, I'm like, oh my God, I'm well endowed. Holy shit.
Look how much the thing fills out the eyes. Wow.
It was a revelation, and I felt confident in my body.
And so you stuck with contacts then, or have you gone back to glasses?
I'm wearing glasses right now.
Well, I thought those were just the blue blockers just for the screen.
No. I hate contacts because they would take so long to put in and take out because I'm afraid of things near my eye. I think hands are gross and dirty.
I'm 100% with you. I was given the option for contacts at one point, and the optometrist was helping me get a pair of them in there because my eyes are shaped weird, so I needed special kinds. I just couldn't deal with it. And I was like, if I have to do this every day, there's no way I could ever do this. So yeah, glasses for me all the way. Never a contact.
I remember a time where Nicole and I were about to go on a date, and it was maybe like in 15 minutes. I was like, okay, I'll put in my contacts. And it was down to the wire, and I still could not get a single. I was like, fuck, she's going to have to see me in glasses. I cannot put these in. And I was stressing and I was freaking out. And luckily I got them in, but they dried out my eyes so much, and I was already opening at Burger King all the time. So I was waking up around 4:30 a.m. every single day, and Nicole would stay up till 2 a.m. every day. So it made me tired having these just dry eyes all the time. And it would get around 10 p.m. and I'm like, stay awake, James. You need to hang out with this amazing woman more. Just do not go to sleep, please.
How long did this contact lens / glasses thing go on until finally it was a revelation? I actually like you in glasses, James. How long did that take to happen?
I don't think her saying that ever happened until years later, but I stopped wearing them maybe 2 or 3 months into us courting each other.
Okay. The courting stage. We were trying to get into your courting stage with Wheel of Time. The only thing you did was mention that you were 6 years younger than you actually are. So tell us about your, let's go back for a couple minutes. Tell us about your Wheel of Time life history.
Hey guys, listen to episode 0 of that, or technically episode 1 of this. And then you'll hear my introduction to Wheel of Time because it was started with this podcast.
Oh, okay. I thought you were being snarky, telling the listeners that you're not going to talk about it now because it's already on tape.
No. I'm saying my introduction was saying episode 0 would be snarky. Going to episode 1 means oh, this is James's introduction to Wheel of Time.
It is the name. I think the name kind of explains that for itself, or at least if anybody asks, that's what I say as I'm introducing you to the Wheel of Time. Have you heard of the book, or was any of your friends into the comic books, or was there any sort of Wheel of Time that happened in your life up until this podcast?
The only thing I could really think of in retrospect, and this would be a new detail from doing this podcast, is I probably in a comic book store when they have the long boxes and you just dig through those crates. I think I saw a bunch of of the trade paperbacks of Wheel of Time, but just skipped over them because I'm I'm looking for Ren and Stimpy and The Simpsons right now, or Insane Clown Posse comic books.
I'm not afraid to say that those paperback covers of the Wheel of Time are pretty terrible. I mean, somebody drew them. Somebody did a great job and got paid for that. They're really awful. And there's something that's lovingly referred to as the Big White Book of Bad Art. And that is a Wheel of Time book that is exactly that, a big white book, and it has the worst art you've ever seen, the worst portraits, the worst landscapes. I guess just maybe they got their... I'm not going to talk a bunch of trash about the art, but I'm just trying to say that it didn't do well for the series. I think maybe a more stark, blank cover or a more well-drawn cover might have drawn more readers in. It looks like a romance novel.
Well, so knowing about video games that are licensed, when it comes to licensed work, and especially with comic books in general, it's baffling that we get good art in comic books at all because they are on such a huge time crunch. So if you throw in the fact that it's a licensed book, that you need to be doing this. It could just be, hey, we need a cover. Throw something together. You have 3 days to do it.
Yes, I think that might have been the case. And yeah, they did churn out those fantasy novels really quickly in the 90s and 2000s. There was lots of them out there. Yeah, so that's us with Wheel of Time, James. We're going to go into a little bit of our band corner now. So Annie Jean Linn is super cool. She's on Instagram. She is a performer / model. I don't think I'm telling tales outside of school to say that she's heavily influenced by David Bowie, both stylistically and musically. She's got a couple singles out, one of which I'm going to play. She also is part of the band The Saturdays, like SAD, Saturdays. Their music is fantastic as well. I'm kind of drawn to her solo stuff. So that's what I'm going to be playing here today. That's the first thing we're going to be hearing is Miss Annie Jean Linn. We're listening to Tangerine by her. That's going to be our first song. Second song is some fellow Richmonders, Book of Wyrms. They just finished playing in New York City at the St. Vitus Bar, which is like a mecca, or it has been for like the past decade, maybe two, of like metal bands performing there. And if you go to the St. Vitus Bar YouTube page, they do some fantastic like soundboard, high definition recordings of each performance. I'm crossing my fingers that Book of Wyrms got recorded while they were there. But they just played there last week, came back to Richmond, played a surprise show for everybody, along with Hustler. And I'm going to play their song, Autumnal Snow? How would you say it? It's autumn. Would you say autumnal or autumnal?
Hey, Steve, it is autumnal.
Autumnal Snow. Yeah, I was right then. That's great. Occult New Age is their latest album, which has gotten rave reviews everywhere. They're pretty much on every Doom list that you find. We'll be right back, y'all, after some tunes.
Did I hear you coming up the stairs? Didn't know you were home, didn't know anyone was here. And it's bringing back all the memories, all the things we thought you'd grow to be. And I'll run and tell my friends that it ain't the truth.
And we're back. That last one we just heard was Book of Wyrms, Autumnal Snow. Before that was Miss Annie Jean Linn. But we're back here to talk about some Wheel of Time with my friend, the sweet child, James McCullum. Hello again, James.
Hello.
Am I saying your name right, McCullum? I'm always afraid I say it wrong.
No, you're saying it correct.
Do I say it correct every time, or do people just kind of say your name all over the place?
No, McCullum, Macallum was a teacher, would say it as a joke, making, like, he knew my name, but he would say Macallum, but he would say that to all last names. He would give incorrect. His brother was Tim Allen, so he knew how to riff.
Oh, yes, I've heard all about this guy. Yes, that's fantastic that you got taught by Tim Allen's brother. That's rad. But, Mullum. People call you Mullum. So where did that come from?
That's MLM, but said real. So friends of mine would get drunk and just scream MLM, and then slurring their words, they would go mum, mum. And that's why it just shorthanded to Mullum, and then that's why people say Mullum.
Alrighty. Because I've always kind of like in the back of my head, I'm like, I think it's McMullum, and I've been saying it wrong this whole time. Glad for the clarification, like 6 months into our relationship.
People do call me McMullum, those friends who would get drunk and scream MLM.
Yeah, I had a misname as well. A friend of mine, Jay Gugino, before I was adopted, my last name was Lepore, which is like an Italian name. And he would always call me Le Pew. And so a lot of people started calling me Le Pew because of my last name. And then I was quickly adopted when I moved in that neighborhood, maybe 2 months later. I became Steve Barnes, but everybody still called me Le Pew because it's funny, I guess.
I didn't know you were adopted. Could you be the dragon reborn?
I'm not going to reveal anything. No spoilers. Not until we get to episode 8. Because
oh man,
I haven't even been introduced into the show yet. So as of right now, we don't even know if I'm going to be in the show or not. Fingers crossed. I mean, there's 2,000 characters. There might as well be a Steve Barnes character too.
Yeah. Or a Steve LePlure.
Le Pew.
So I read up a little bit about the Wheel of Time video game because I was curious of why it seems very early in the Unreal Engine's life to be like, hey, let's make this licensed game using this. But that's because Legend Entertainment, the company who made this game, they made an expansion pack of missions for Unreal, the first game, not Unreal Tournament, but Unreal, and pretty much were then given the okay to take that and make another game. Or maybe they were probably said, hey, we'll let you use Unreal if you make some mission packs for it, which would have been a good way to get your toes in there, learn the way of how to use this engine. And then after that, ended up making Unreal 2 because I believe Epic Games at this point were like, oh, Unreal did okay. It was well received for its graphical accomplishments, but Unreal Tournament is what people really fucking love. Let's focus on that. Let's have Legend Entertainment handle the sequel to Unreal, which is more of there's a story with that, and you go through levels opposed to just you're thrown into a battle royale arena shooter and you have to fire at people.
Yeah, man, there's something to be said for those games too, I suppose. I love the way they recycle those video game engines. Like a little factoid I know is that when Caleb was growing up, he was always a gamer, and I was a gamer right beside him. And Spider-Man on PlayStation, that was a great game we played. And then they recycled that engine and made Tony Hawk Pro Skater, the first Tony Hawk Pro Skater, using that Spider-Man engine. And I didn't know that, but once I found out, playing those two games back to back, it's really obvious that it doesn't seem like it should be in the same ballpark, but it is. I mean, you move around and you operate the exact same way.
I believe the Nightmare Before you posted a picture of your son dressed up as Devil May Cry dude, right?
Yeah.
There is what was this released by Capcom? I believe it was. Yes. There's a Nightmare Before Christmas game, Oogie's Revenge, for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox that uses, I believe, the same engine as Devil May Cry because it's a Devil May Cry clone.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I got to write that down real quick so I can let Caleb know.
And
I don't think he's a listener.
It's still pretty non-expensive to purchase. I got one for Nicole for Christmas. The day I found out the game existed, it was maybe in like August, and I was like, oh, I'm buying that and just storing it away for her birthday gift.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, it's a great thing to do. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go back into Wheel of Time. We're going into episode 5 today. We're exactly at the halfway point. This episode is called Blood Calls Blood. We got a new director today. This is Sally Richardson Whitfield. She's an actress, actually. She's been around for 30 some years. As an actress, she was the lovely Will Smith's wife in I Am Legend. She was, in Black Dynamite, but she's also been a director. She directed Altered Carbon, Doom Patrol, and she directed some episodes of Blackish, which I'll just do a sidebar that Charlotte just finished binge watching Blackish, and so we watched it with her too. And that show was great. I had real low expectations for it. I have low expectations for any sitcom of that sort, but I was blown away by how good that show was and how well it handled sensitive current subjects. Have you seen Blackish? Not yet. It's great. Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
I'll check it out.
Maybe we'll do a podcast. We'll do a whitish take on Blackish. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
No, that would be terrible. We're not doing that. I don't agree to this.
Okay. We're going to start this episode out. This is solemn, James. Listeners, we're going to be solemn because we're starting out with a funeral. We've got Stepan. He's carrying the body of his Aes Sedai, Corine. There's multiple bodies being buried. We're not just burying the Aes Sedai and the quote-unquote good guys. We're burying everybody. The dragon's followers and the dragon's non-followers. Everybody's getting buried side by side here. And of course, it's like a nice wheel pattern that they dug there. Those were probably Aes Sedai dug graves. I doubt very seriously that the 4 warders they dug all those holes, because it looked like their clothes were still in pretty good condition. I'm pretty sure Aes Sedai can do such things. They can do anything they want. This is a very unusual situation here too, with Stepan and his lovely blonde hair and his sadness. Warders are not supposed to outlive their Aes Sedai. Aes Sedai, I don't know if they make good mention of it. They did mention it, but it might have went over everybody's heads that they're hundreds of years old. They can be hundreds of years old. Not immortal, but the next best thing to being immortal. And warders are not. Warders are just regular guys that have a bond with them. Yes, James.
I think being a stillborn is the next best thing to being immortal. Because I don't want to live forever.
We should try to get a stillborn on the podcast and interview them from that perspective and see.
Man, I was so close to being a stillborn. I was. The umbilical cord was wrapped around my neck.
Yeah, I heard about that. Do you want to go into that? Because it was an interesting story. Like you and another guy had the exact same experience.
Yeah, David Sapp from Tomorrow's Nobodies, David Forgets, the Jank crew. He started telling that story. I was like, holy shit, same exact deal. I was born blue. My mom always says, my blue little baby, you're like a Smurf. And I was like, I wish I was dead.
I'm glad you lived, because we wouldn't be doing this right now if not the case.
Yeah, but you would have found someone else on the Grift horse. But maybe if I didn't exist, what if Grift? No, I'm so far removed from that it would have been fine.
It would have been fine, but I'm putting my mind in that mind space right now. I would not be on Spotify. There would be no Introvoid. I would have no podcast. I would just be an average consumer. I would still be writing music on that 4-track for nobody. They would just be cassette tapes piling up over there in the corner. So, I personally have you to thank for that.
You're welcome, as it should be said.
Thank you, me Irish mum.
I will say the Hiss Horse days of Grift Horse, that would have sounded different if I hadn't come along and cleaned those episodes up.
Oh, wait, did you do that?
Yeah.
Holy shit. I had no idea.
Yeah, that was me. The reason why those got sounding okay was because I took it upon myself so I could listen to the episodes, because I have sensitive ears on that high end stuff. So
Same.
I cut those out. I'm
so glad that happened, because we were talking about it on the Discord. I guess it went over my head that you were involved in that. I sometimes listen back to old episodes of Grift Horse, and they'll read letters that I wrote that I have no memory of writing and no memory of the thing that I wrote about. I'm like, wow, I'm pretty cool. Was I lying or was I telling the truth?
Can I say some notes that I have for up till now?
Almost.
Okay.
You sit quiet, you sweet child. You keep being sweet, or we're going to have to give you a spanking. We got some severe grief here, because this is just an unusual situation all along. It's different from like a parent outliving their child. It's like that times 100. What I wanted to say before I let you go on is, when they're doing their prayer and they cut to Leandrin, and she kind of closes her eyes and just does a little something with her face. I mean, what a wonderful actress. She's the best actress on the show, in my opinion. The one who plays Leandrin. It was hard to tell if she was going along with the prayer, like, cause she's tight with Corinne, or if she was like, what bullshit. I can't believe I'm sitting here and listening to this bullshit. You could take it as either way. How did you take Leandrin's, cut to?
I don't know who that is.
The blonde-haired red Aes Sedai.
I didn't notice anything that she was doing, so I'm going to say it went over my head.
Okay, well, cool. What were your notes for this funeral?
There was a woman in green, and there was singing on the soundtrack, but when she was crying, it looked like she was singing. So I thought that was funny. And then I said, Aes Sedai, more like Isa cry, and Misa Jar Jar Binks.
Misa stepping bad doo-doo. It's a funeral over here.
And then I said the Wheel of Shallow Graves.
Yeah. They were in danger of being dug up any second by any passing wolf.
Well, at first I thought, because they started putting candles on there, I was like, oh, when the candles like burn down, it will light the bodies aflame, and then they will go back into the earth, because they are still like, it's not going to become a wildfire because they are in some sort of dirt trench. But no, the candles had like a candle holder within them, so it wouldn't have burned them. This was just poorly dug graves.
Yeah, they could have gone a little bit deeper with those suckers. They were arranged perfectly, though. I loved the arrangement of them. And
digging, okay, cemeteries are, you need practicality, not, aesthetics.
I agree, but they're out here in the wild, and that's not really quite an issue in their world at this time. There's no urban sprawl happening in the world of Wheel of Time. It's quite the opposite.
Still, an animal's going to get them and start eating their bodies, and that's just disrespectful to the dead.
Yeah, but now that we see this prayer, though, their souls are going to go up and they're going to be reincarnated, because that's a thing in this world. So, we can wait for them next time around.
The wheel keeps dragging.
Yep. So the wheel drags 1 month later. So it gives us a little cut to, they've been traveling for a month. They're finally at the White Tower. Pretty psyched to be here. We learned that Nynaeve eats every night with the warders. Kind of get like a little sly look from land there, like maybe they've been hanging out a little bit. Steppen is here to deliver the ring. The fella is not doing too good. Do you have any notes for the Aes Sedai arrival upon the city before they actually enter the city?
Yeah. Meringue says, we're going back to your home. Do you still consider it your home? And she responds with, this cloak is my home. This saddle is my home. This this brooding man besides me is my home. And then he like looks at her, and Nicole just is walking through, and she goes, man, that dude flirts with everyone.
Yep, he is smoldering. Nicole walks by and says the funniest shit. She should be walking by like every 5 seconds and giving us commentary, I swear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're going to cut a little later on to they're actually in the tower. From the Aes Sedai perspective, we're going to skip over Matt and Rand's perspective. We're going to go straight to the Aes Sedai perspective. Nynaeve is in the tower. She's being promised that they're going to find her friends and get reunited. We hope that that's the truth, because Moiraine is saying these words, that she promises her that she'll bring her friends to them. She also says to avoid the women in the tower and to be careful. That's a warning that everybody gives, even though these women are revered as, wonderful, great healers. Even if you remember a couple episodes back, even the White Cloak was like, that wounded looking pretty nasty. You need to go hook up with Aes Sedai to get that healed. Even he was recommending Aes Sedai. These tower politics will eat you alive. What did Moiraine mean when she said those words? These tower politics will eat you alive. Is that a literal case there, James? Did you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, it just seemed like corporate America.
Well, sure, but I'm trying to take her word. Like, she can't tell any lies. So I'm wondering, like, how hyperbole fits in with that type of thing.
I mean, she can still speak in figurative speech, right?
I mean, would it be okay to be like, like I all the time will tell obvious lies on this show that is an obvious lie, but I'm telling it in a sarcastic, joking way. Could I get away with that perhaps if I was an Aes Sedai?
Well, I think sarcasm is different than metaphor and simile. Right? I
mean, I don't know. I just thought that those words coming out of her mouth, it took me aback. And I don't know if it took anybody else aback or if I'm just a literal person, which I am a literal person.
Okay, then maybe she means it will consume you into looking for power as these other individuals do if you get in with their way of thinking and controlling their own, what's the power in this called? The power? The one true power?
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So I think she's like, stay away from them or you will become what you hate.
Nynaeve says they better stay away from me because I'm the one they got to watch out for. I like her
she's getting cocky right there, guys.
Yeah, she's speaking out of fear too, and Moiraine knows it. Moraine's straight up with her. Nynaeve's like, is anything ever going to be the same? Moraine's like, nope, it's not. You just got to accept it and move on. You can't keep saying nothing's the same, because it's not. You accept it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try to skip ahead a little further on where we are with the Aes Sedai. Oh, yes, here we are. We're preparing, stepping for the funeral. In this world, yes, sir?
There's something that they say that relates to what Matt and Rand are doing, where I was like, oh, I called it. So they're seeing the false dragon being trounced through town, and the village people, or I guess the city folk, are throwing like food at them. And I wrote down, wow, man, they have to have good aim or they're just going to pelt one of the Aes Sedai. And then like the following scene where we are at now starts with like, oh yeah, they wanted to, how was the parade? And they're like, it's fine, but you want to know what? It was all worth it to see Leandrin get pelted by a radish. I was like, yeah!
And they actually showed that on scene too. Like if you go back and rewatch it, which I did, they do show her getting, not pelted, but yeah, she gets hit with a radish. They're prepping them up for the funeral wearing all white. That's what they wear in this world when they do prayers and when they do burials. In this case, he's burying her ring. As we've seen plenty times before, these rings are super important. They hold a huge importance to the tower. This eternal flame that he's putting the ring into has been at the tower for as long as the tower has been there. And that's how they dispose of the Aes Sedai. Not dispose of, but what would you call that word when you honorifically, help me out here, James, with my vocabulary.
When you...
They're not disposing of it, they're...
I guess cremating it is what I would say.
Yeah, there you go.
Bringing
Cremation.
it back into the earth, into the cycle of making new rings.
I think they should recycle the rings and maybe hand it down to another Aes Sedai, perhaps, or one of their apprentices.
I think this is the whole concept of the Wheel of Time is things die but then get reincarnated in order to reincarnate a ring, because you don't want that like badness established to if someone were to die or to like, you don't want to give a hand-me-down ring. Like if you were to like be divorced, you've said on here you were divorced once, correct?
Yeah.
Did you take that ring and then give it to your new wife?
I did not, but that's a difference. Like you would take like your grandmother's heirloom and you would hand that down to a granddaughter, and she would be honored to have that.
But with the whole Wheel of Time concept, they melted the ring, and I'm guessing from that forge, they forge new rings. So like it's a constant recycling of this gold.
You got it.
Within this forge. You
got it. See, that goes over my head. You got it, man. Thank you. Before that, we learned about how Corrine and Stepan met. Maxim's talking about how this is his family. I thought this was just straight up the perfect scene. When, Stepan approaches the fire, teardrop coming from his eye. It was just a perfect scene all around. They used it for the trailer of the show. Like, this is how they introduced the show, I believe, was with this scene. This is like the first thing that any Wheel of Time reader saw was like this scene of Stepan kissing the ring and putting it in the fire. And yeah, it was a moment.
When Franklin passed away, a cat best friend of mine, I couldn't throw away a box he slept in without, like, I would start thinking about it, then just break down. I don't know how he could do the ring thing so close. Like, it was a day since this happened. I don't buy that.
It's been a
month. Or
month.
he's just much stronger than I am.
It's been a month. Remember? A month has passed between the funeral and the time they've come to the White Tower.
I totally missed that.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, after that happens, Lan and Moraine share a moment. Again, completely silent scene. They don't say a word to each other, but it's clear that they share a bond, that their brain and their emotions are as one. So these warders, again, they're not immortal. They don't necessarily get any special powers from being a warder. They just get the honor of protecting an Aes Sedai, but also having that brain bond with them. And that's worth something right there. And if I do be mistaken, that's the last we're going to talk about the Aes Sedai here. We're going to move on to our buddies Mat and Rand, if we may. So again, this is 1 month later. So Mat and Rand have been traveling as well. They've been traveling with this group of people that are probably all going to the same place, to Tar Valon. Tar Valon is like the New York City of this world, basically. Mat, who has a strong affinity for kids and for his sisters back home, is not having any shit with these kids. He's snapping at them. He's being a real jerk, and he's looking worse and worse as time goes on. Rand's pretty worried about him too. You can tell. Rand claims that he's seen this mountain before, which we know is bogus because he's been tending sheep all his life. None of these people have ever left Two Rivers. They enter Tar Valon, this huge immaculate city, beautiful clothes. Rand immediately gets something to eat. Matt's not hungry. Matt just wants to lay down and go to sleep. I was telling you earlier, sometimes, a depressive person can go through times where nothing matters to them. They can be surrounded by the most beautiful city, interesting food, things you've never seen before, and you just could not care less. All you want to do is just lay down and just be left alone. That's where Matt's at right now. You have any notes so far?
So on Gelmania, Brett Gelman, and I think he also did it on Meltdown, the Nerd Melt, whatever it was called on Comedy Central. He had a bit where he's just like, I'm not doing well. And then just like progressively gets like more ridiculous of not doing well. And all I could think of, I'm not doing well. I puked up a bat. I'm not doing well. Magic plagued with darkness oozed from my tear ducts. I'm not doing well. Yeah, man, he's been through some stuff.
Absolutely. He just wants to be left alone at this point. So, yeah, Rand leaves him alone.
I may have murdered a family. I'm not doing well.
That's right. I don't have that written down, but that is a huge point to go into that I was thinking about, but just for some reason it did not make it to pen to paper. We didn't see that Fade kill that family. We didn't see Matt kill that family. What we saw was Matt standing there and a dead family around him, and then he points his blade to a Fade, and that's when our scene begins. We're pretty sure that Matt did not do this because his blade is clean. I went back and watched, and that's a detail that we have to, take into consideration. His blade was clean. Even so, this is a pretty kooky world where all kinds of stuff can happen. So we're not quite sure if Matt he's not sure if he killed the family or not. And just the fact that he's questioning it and Rand has to reassure him. Rand wasn't in that room. We weren't in that room either. So all Rand is doing is just blanket reassurance.
Yeah, because maybe he's just snapped all their necks.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. I'm trying to think about this season, not season one, episode 1 Matt, and like how much I loved him, like in that first episode, and how great of a character he was. And then trying to picture him snapping little kids' necks. It doesn't do well for my brain.
Someone that is in Sean Marciniak's Twitch streams, R2Shelby2, shout out to them. They were interested in this Wheel of Time podcast, and I believe she said, like, oh, I watched a few episodes, and all I know from this in the books is Matt is my favorite character.
Yeah. I think every poll that I've seen of Wheel of Time, he pretty much comes out on top of everyone.
No, thank you. I'm
you?
right now Egwene.
Yeah, you're a TV show watcher, which totally makes sense. Based on what we've seen, I can't fault you for that.
Oh, also, number one truly is the Dark One.
You haven't even met the Dark One yet. He's just an idea at this point. You think an idea of a Dark One is better than Kooky Matt?
Well, I'll say the idea of the Dark One's better than the opposite of darkness, and we'll get into that later.
All right. Rand is like Rand doesn't want to lay in the room and sit in a bed. He wants to go see this crazy city he's in. He gets more than he bargained for. He goes to the library because that's the kind of dude Rand is. Meets an Ogier in there named Loyal, larger than life fellow. This guy is played by, you're going to love this guy's name, Hamad. I think his last name is Animation. Animashaun. Animation. He's a stage actor, obviously. So he's done like a lot of Shakespeare. And I believe this is like his first televised role.
Hell yeah.
As Loyal. Not Ogre, but Ogier. We learn a little bit about Ogier here, that they normally stay in a steading. this fella here, Loyal, is just out for adventure, out to meet people. He loves oddities like this fella Rand, who looks like an Aielman, but Rand's like, I'm just a dude. I'm not an Aielman. An Aielman who looks like an Aielman who denies he's an Aielman. Yeah, we can go in circles with that. Any thoughts about Loyal or Rand at this point?
I did have, after, he says all of that, he says, that's odd. I like oddities. I really enjoyed this dude.
Yeah, he's another book favorite as well, this Loyal. What was I going to say about him before I went on? Oh yeah, they were talking about, you go ahead.
No, you're probably going to cover it.
Okay, well, I was going to say he picked up the book of Jane Farstrider, who is another one of our legends. This is not the first time we've heard the name Jane Farstrider. It was kind of a clumsy way to introduce the book in this scene, but I'm glad they introduced it anyway because it comes up a lot in the book. The Book of Wheel of Time, everybody loves the book of Jane Farstrider. What were you going to say?
So he sees Matt down there, Rand does, in the streets walking, and he's like, I gotta go. And Loyal says, man, you humans are always in a rush to do things without being prepared for what you're getting yourself into. But you already established, they grow faster and live far less than you do. We have to be in a rush because we're always almost dead.
Exactly. You're exactly right. And did you watch Star Trek at all? Either Star Trek Next Generation or Deep Space Nine?
I probably have consumed a lot of it, but only because my dad watched a lot of it.
Okay. I watched a lot of it doing like night stock at grocery stores, and that's what we would watch during our lunch break, which our lunch break was, 3 a.m. But I don't know, it was something very Star Trek-y about the way he was kind of talking and chuckling to himself after Rand walked off that I couldn't help think about maybe Worf or something. Maybe that's who he reminded me of. But there's a parade coming through town. We're going to kind of cross stories here because this is when the Aes Sedai are coming in, and Loyal and Matt and Rand are watching them come through town. It's what they call the False Dragon Parade. That boot on the horse is a signal to people that an Aes Sedai has fallen in battle. So this town is like this city of Tar-Valon is also where the White Tower is, which is where the Aes Sedai Center is. So everybody is very Aes Sedai friendly, Aes Sedai familiar. In these other towns outside, like Two Rivers, Aes Sedai are these legends that nobody really knows about. Around here, everybody knows about them, and they see a boot on a horse, and they know what that means automatically. People are throwing shit at the false dragon, as we said. Leandrin got a piece of that. We see Logain peek up at Matt, start cackling wildly. Matt looks unnerved as hell, but Rand seems to miss the whole thing. So I'm not sure if this happened in Matt's head, if this really happened or not, but definitely Matt and Logain had a moment there. Another person that Matt saw out the window that Matt spied that we didn't talk to, but if you look at the closed captionings, he saw Padan Fain, the peddler down there in the crowd too. Did you catch him?
No.
Yeah, he was down in the crowd, walking around a little bit. They zoomed in on him at one point, so it was no secret. I'm not pointing out anything I shouldn't be pointing out. Yeah, the peddler was there too. So he's come a long way. I mean, he came from the Two Rivers the same time they did, like with the Trollocs. Now he's here in town.
Which might smell disastrous.
Right now, it just smells like a lovely city.
I meant to say spell disastrous.
Okay, so here we got, before we leave this scene, we got Matt pleading with Rand for his sanity, basically. Telling Rand, don't let me end up like some weirdo like that. Please, Rand, please, promise me. Rand's like, okay, I promise you. What about me? Matt's like, whatever, sure. Did you believe that Matt would watch out for Rand the same way that Rand would watch out for Matt?
Yeah, Because I think he's down to stab someone.
Yeah, I guess he would be. I don't know. I totally got the vibe that that Rand likes Matt more than Matt likes Rand.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if that's the last time we see our fellas here. For this episode, anyway.
Mm-hmm. I think that is. Did you mention that the false dragon was laughing at Matt?
Yeah, yes. And we don't know if that actually happened or if it happened in Matt's head. What's your take on that?
I think it actually happened. Because even if it happened in his head, it still really happened. I think there was a connection with the two.
Absolutely, there was a connection, but I don't think that it actually. I don't think anybody else saw that except for the two of them. Because when Rand looks at Matt, looks back at Logain's just still has that blank, sad look on his face. And I think all that cackling would probably have like prompted the Aes Sedai or somebody in the crowd to be like, "Hey, shut up! What are you laughing at?" You know. So I think that was a moment that happened in his head.
Yeah, they start pelting things at him.
They were doing that well before this scene.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get to the saddest, just most infuriating scene in this episode so far.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Okay, we're going to be talking about the White Cloaks and the Tuatha, the Tinkers. Do you prefer to call them the Tuatha or the Tinkers? What do you prefer?
The Tuatha, because that's what they call themselves.
Correct. All right. So they're traveling with Perrin and... I'm going to start that over again, of course. We come in with Perrin and Aram philosophizing about this and that. We catch the gist that these guys are, if not vegan, they're at least vegetarian, because Perrin's complaining about eating turnips and the dogs get to eat meat. So yeah, the vegetarian types. As they're walking through, Egwene comes up kind of playfully and happily, grabbing onto the guys. She's psyched. She can sense Rand's presence in the tower. She knows he's there. So, you know, everybody's pretty excited. And then the friggin' Proud Boys show up. The White Cloaks come. They want to just question the Tuatha, but he catches eye of Perrin and Egwene, and he remembers them. The Tuatha claim Perrin and Egwene as their own. They stand up in their own way to the White Cloaks. They're not going to fight them, but they're not going to let them get past. They form a wall. Friggin' dickhead Valda punches my favorite woman, Isla. How dare he, motherfucker, gives her a bloody nose, and then they pretty much go to town on these guys. Aram lets us know offhandedly that the White Cloaks would never kill a Tuatha, but they'll beat the shit out of them.
His words was, they are bastards, but they will not kill us.
Yeah, which I agree with half of that anyway. I don't know about this Valda guy. It doesn't seem like he would stop at anything. They pick up on Perrin and Egwene pretty quickly. It seems like Aram is leading them to safety around some pretty cool like rock carvings. There's all kinds of like hints of the past world that we just catch glance of. Like we see seconds of, you know, something that we know was significant 300 years ago. And now it's just part of the forest scenery. So Aram attempts to save them. He does not. They catch one of them, take them back to the camp.
Which I will say they should have just like went up to the leaders, because they see that they're about to start punching their friends, and then they're like, "Oh, we need to leave or we'll get punched." No, like say, "Hey, you want to know what? You can take us without force. That's fine."
Yeah, they were kind of following Aram's lead here, and Aram was leading them away. So I guess you could kind of blame him a little bit for that.
Yeah, I guess.
He is definitely a Tuatha. He was born into their culture, but you can tell he's kind of got his feet in both worlds a little bit here. Valda puts on his sleeveless shirt for whatever reason, just to look cool. And
he does look cool and hot.
He does. But he doesn't look cool. He's always like eating piles of food. I guess just to let us know that he's just a bastard. He's got Egwene and Perrin tied up. Well, he doesn't have Perrin tied up yet. He's got Egwene. You can see there's blood on the ropes. So this is like the Aes Sedai, like torture chair that she's sitting in. He's blaming her for being an Aes Sedai. Oh, I'm sorry. Before that, she gets basically assaulted by these guys, scrubbed down head to toe, and they comb out her braid, which she's super proud of her braid. They viciously assault her, in my opinion. In an attempt... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So there's no, like... Visually, she is being assaulted, and that's how she is seeing that. There isn't... just for, like... trigger warning, content warning stuff. There's nothing really happens. Like, she seems relieved when they like put on her clothes and they're like, hey, now you're decent. Thank you. But the fact that they are using hard bristled brushes it's just violent. And then on top of that, when he's eating, he is using a knife as a fork, like a sharp ass knife. This man is disgusting and violent.
Correct. We didn't see the opening scene when Egwene was being bathed by the women's circle to do her river stint in the first episode. But I think that would have been a really good, like, side-by-side comparison of how, the women's circle treat their women and how the White Cloak treat their women.
Well, also, we see that they have, like, they're like the harder loofahs, but they still had that. It would have been much better than, oh, man, just... it makes my skin crawl just thinking someone is scrubbing me with any bristle.
That was a tough scene to watch, and they captured it really well with the cinematography. You and I are both like I think sensitive people, and it definitely worked. It's not a scene I want to go back and rewatch. So they got her. He has her tied up, Child Valda. He's a sweet child too, isn't he? Brings in Perrin. He's tied up. Even though Egwene is completely in a powerless position, she still has power to her, and she stands up as much as she can to Valda in this situation. She defers to him somewhat. She stands up to him a lot. Valda's got them in a no-win situation, basically. Starts doing the torture-y thing to Perrin, and this, I gotta tell you, like, the way he treated Egwene and Perrin in this scene, the way all of them treated Egwene and Perrin, is basically nothing. The White Cloaks probably view them as coddling this couple, because what they normally do is burn people alive, whip them, sever their organs while they're still alive. They're anything to get an answer to their questions. So this is horrific what they're doing, but it's very small potatoes compared to what could be happening, I guess, if they were indeed Aes Sedai. We're going to end our episode and end the scene with this scene, unfortunately, because we're right at the halfway point. What Valda does here is he stabs Perrin in the back. Doesn't stab him in the back. I'm sorry. He slices some pattern on his back with an alcohol-soaked knife, and we, the viewers, can see Perrin's eyes change into this golden kind of elucid color. Nobody else sees that except for us. Valda, after doing this, does the typical James Bond villain thing where, like, I'm going to leave you guys in the room here alone and with no guards so y'all can talk about how y'all want to get out of this situation. I thought that was a little... It was not a great way to end the scene. Do you have any way to jump in here to save face, James?
Yeah, I got some one. this dude's like, oh, it's for the light, this and that, which reconfirms and reaffirms, I should say, my love of the Dark One. The Dark One's not doing this kind of stuff to our main characters. He's just looking for them.
He sent Trollocs after them to kill them.
No, to scoop them up and say like, hey, I might drag you by the hair, but that's because I don't know the love and tender care that I should be giving to someone that needs to go to the Dark One. But another thing is, I don't know if this is the symbolism they're trying to convey. In demonology, when you get a you'll see a claw mark on you all of a sudden, and it's a claw mark just of 3 claws. That was the pattern that he put on Perrin's back.
Yeah.
So it either is us letting the audience know that this man is bad, like he is a demon in this world, or it could be a symbolism of dragons have 3 claw marks. Maybe that's what they're giving us. Or if he is some type of werewolf, I don't know what we've been seeing with him hanging out with these wolves. It could be something of that sorts. I don't know.
Wait, are you saying that Valda's the werewolf or that Perrin is the werewolf?
Perrin is.
Okay, right. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff to back that up. All the times that we would see Perrin sitting around the fire, you would always hear wolves in the background. And he had that moment where the wolves licked his wound and the wolves were chasing them and leading them to the Tuatha. I think that all adds up to a pretty surmisable point.
We're going to see something cool. I know it in the coming episodes. I hope it's resolved of what is he?
Yeah, same. I didn't see those marks. I've watched this episode a few times, but like I said, I'm very sensitive, I suppose. So I did not see these 3 marks you were talking about.
He slices them in just 3 lines on the back.
Right. Okay. Yes, that's correct. I seem to remember him doing 1 vertical and 2 horizontal, but I could be completely wrong about that. I have a tendency to mumble things up in my brain.
I didn't have my blue blockers on, so I saw it as clear as day.
Well, that is where we're going to stop this episode because we are about 33 minutes into episode 5 of Blood After Blood. So we're going to pick up next time right here at 33 minutes in. So before we get into the podcast, James, what you got going on for the week?
Hey guys, listen to Mostly Speaking Sentai, Shuffling the Deck, and I think that's it.
Did I say that completely wrong?
You said, what do I have going on for the rest of the week? And I was like, I think that's him throwing the plugs, maybe?
That was me throwing the plugs. James.
So I interpreted it.
Say again?
I interpreted it correctly.
I'm a complete mess. I'm going to plug something for you since you didn't even mention it yet. Last week, your song Gene Material with Dragon Boy Suede Howard Kramer came out. It was well received, well loved. It's still out there. Please go listen to it, y'all. I'm going to have a link for it in the notes right there for Gene Material. I'm going to have a link for Book of Wyrms. I'm going to have a link for Annie Jean. Why do I keep forgetting her name?
I was going to do my
Linn.
plugs and do it nice, guys, but Steve.
Yeah, you want to start over?
Do you want to completely start over with plugs?
We probably should. It would probably be, I mean,
right.
This is funny, but we probably should. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So James, what you got going on for your plugs for the rest of your life?
Hey guys, go to mlmpod.com to find out information about the podcast I do, such as Hit It and Crit It, It's Back Baby, Mostly Speaking Sentai, and Shuffling the Deck. While you're there, you can find my music under Marshland Monster, or wherever music is found, like Spotify. I just released a single, you heard it last week, with Dragon Boy Suede, Howard Kramer, called Gene Material. More songs will be coming in the hopper, baby. A dog, guys. And then we also have patreon.com/MLMpod, where for $5 a month, you get exclusive podcasts such as Engage with Nicolas Cage, the Toku Reading Corner, This Existed, and coming up, it's now released, the first episode of Death from Above, a Sam and Max podcast. That's all I got.
Hell yeah, that's a lot. James also is nice enough to have a Discord channel for us on his Discord, the Marshland Media Discord. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Yeah, you can look on there and join James's Discord. It's real easy to do. He and I have links to it in both of our Instagrams and all of our links everywhere. Join us there. Sweet Child of Time. He stuck us in there for some reason. I got my band Intravoid, which I'm in the process of writing a couple of songs. Myself and Heather have our other band, Rebecca Crow, which we just released a live EP, which may or may not still be on Spotify. We're going to put some new stuff up there. We're in the process of recording. And I got this podcast, which you just heard. So from both... Did I miss something?
No, you plugged this.
Yeah, I'm plugging what everybody just heard.
So I laughed at that.
Anyways, from us, that would be me and James, your sweet child. We'll see you next week on Sweet Child of Time. Bye-bye. You got to say bye-bye too, James. I'm not going to leave until we do.
I hope you find shelter and water.
Oh, my God. That's how flustered I am.
Guys, we might have to start recording these at nighttime because Steve is just kerfluffled lately in the morning.
I really am. That is a fact. And the proper way that we should say goodbye to this podcast is I want all my listeners to always find not just shelter and shade, but water and shade as well. Water, shelter, shade, love, and kindness. And I wish that to you upon yourself as well, James. May you always find water and shade.
See you guys. Bye.
What a shit show. This is like the third time I've gone loopy, I think.